Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are critical safety devices designed to protect individuals from electrical shock. They work by constantly monitoring the current flowing through a circuit. If a ground fault is detected, meaning that some of the current is leaking to ground through an unintended path, the GFCI will trip and quickly cut off power to the circuit. This happens very fast, typically within a fraction of a second, preventing serious injury or death. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides specific requirements for GFCI protection in various locations to ensure electrical safety. Section 210.85 of the NEC specifically addresses GFCI protection for kitchen countertop receptacles. This section mandates that every receptacle serving countertop areas in a kitchen must have GFCI protection. The reasoning behind this requirement is simple: kitchens are inherently wet environments, increasing the risk of electrical shock. Water can easily come into contact with electrical appliances or cores on the countertop, creating a potential ground fault. By requiring GFCI protection for each countertop receptacle, the NEC aims to minimize the risk of electrical shock in these vulnerable areas. It's important to understand that the requirement in 210.85 specifies that each countertop receptacle must be GFCI protected. This means that simply installing one GFCI to protect multiple receptacles on the same circuit is not sufficient. Each individual receptacle must either be a GFCI receptacle itself, or be protected by a GFCI device installed upstream in the circuit. While it might seem more cost-effective to protect multiple receptacles with a single GFCI, this approach does not provide the same level of protection as having individual GFCI protection for each receptacle. If a ground fault occurs at one receptacle in a circuit protected by a single GFCI, the entire circuit will be de-energized. This could potentially disrupt other appliances or equipment connected to the same circuit. With individual GFCI protection, only the affected receptacle will be de-energized, minimizing disruption to other devices. Furthermore, individual GFCI protection provides a greater level of redundancy. If one GFCI device fails, the other receptacles in the kitchen will still be protected by their own GFCIs. This redundancy helps to ensure continuous protection against electrical shock. There are several ways to achieve GFCI protection for kitchen countertop receptacles. Firstly, you can install GFCI receptacles directly at each countertop location. These receptacles have a built-in GFCI device that provides local protection. They are easy to install and are a cost-effective solution for many situations. Secondly, you can install a GFCI circuit breaker in the electrical panel. This type of breaker provides GFCI protection for the entire circuit, including all of the countertop receptacles connected to it. While this approach can be more convenient in some cases, it is important to ensure that the circuit is dedicated solely to the kitchen countertop receptacles. Thirdly, you can use a combination of GFCI receptacles and GFCI circuit breakers. For example, you could install a GFCI receptacle at the first receptacle location on a circuit and then wire the remaining receptacles downstream from it. This approach can provide both local and upstream protection, offering an extra layer of safety. When installing GFCI receptacles or circuit breakers, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. Be sure to turn off the power to the circuit before beginning any work. Use appropriate wiring techniques and make sure that all connections are tight and secure. After installation, test the GFCI device to ensure that it is working properly. Most GFCI receptacles and circuit breakers have a test button that you can press to simulate a ground fault. When the test button is pressed, the GFCI should trip and cut off power to the circuit. If the GFCI does not trip, there may be a problem with the installation or with the GFCI device itself. It's also important to periodically test GFCI devices to ensure that they are still functioning properly. The NEC recommends testing GFCIs at least once a month. Regular testing can help to identify potential problems early on, before they can lead to a dangerous situation. In addition to the NEC requirements, local building codes may also have specific requirements for GFCI protection in kitchens. Be sure to check with your local building department to ensure that you are complying with all applicable codes and regulations. The proper installation and maintenance of GFCIs is essential for ensuring electrical safety in kitchens. By following the NEC requirements and local building codes, you can help to protect yourself and your family from the risk of electrical shock. Remember that electricity can be dangerous, and it is always best to err on the side of caution when working with electrical systems. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to perform the work. When choosing GFCI receptacles or circuit breakers, it is important to select products that are listed by a recognized testing laboratory such as Underwriters Laboratories or UL. These products have been tested and certified to meet certain safety standards. Avoid using products that are not listed by a recognized testing laboratory, as they may not provide adequate protection. When wiring GFCI receptacles, it is important to pay attention to the line and load terminals. The line terminals are used to connect the incoming power wires, while the load terminals are used to connect the wires that feed downstream receptacles or equipment. Make sure that you connect the wires to the correct terminals, as incorrect wiring can prevent the GFCI from functioning properly. Also, be sure to use the correct size of wire for the circuit. The wire size must be appropriate for the amperage of the circuit. Using undersized wire can cause the wire to overheat and potentially start a fire. In addition to GFCI protection, it is also important to practice other electrical safety measures in the kitchen. Avoid using electrical appliances near water. If an appliance falls into water, do not reach in to retrieve it. Instead, turn off the power to the circuit at the electrical panel. Do not overload electrical circuits. Overloading a circuit can cause the circuit breaker to trip or can potentially start a fire. Use extension cords sparingly and never use damaged extension cords. Damaged extension cords can be a fire hazard. Keep electrical cords away from hot surfaces. Hot surfaces can damage the insulation on the cords and create a potential fire hazard. Teach children about electrical safety. Children should be taught not to play with electrical outlets or cords. By following these electrical safety measures, you can help to create a safe environment in your kitchen. Remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. If you have any concerns about electrical safety, consult with a qualified electrician. In older homes, it may be necessary to upgrade the electrical system to meet current NEC requirements. This may involve adding GFCI protection to kitchen countertop receptacles, as well as upgrading the wiring and electrical panel. If you are planning to remodel your kitchen, it is a good idea to have a qualified electrician inspect the electrical system and make any necessary upgrades. Upgrading the electrical system can improve safety and increase the value of your home. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay up to date on the latest code requirements. The NEC is available for purchase from various sources, including the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA. You can also find information about the NEC online. Understanding the NEC requirements for GFCI protection in kitchens is essential for ensuring electrical safety. By following the code requirements and practicing other electrical safety measures, you can help to protect yourself and your family from the risk of electrical shock. Ground faults can occur for a variety of reasons. A common cause of ground faults is damaged or frayed wiring. If the insulation on a wire is damaged, the bare wire can come into contact with a grounded surface, such as a metal appliance or a water pipe. This can create a path for current to flow to ground, resulting in a ground fault. Another common cause of ground faults is water intrusion. If water comes into contact with electrical components, it can create a conductive path to ground. This is why GFCI protection is so important in wet locations such as kitchens and bathrooms. Ground faults can also be caused by faulty appliances or equipment. If an appliance has a short circuit or a wiring problem, it can create a ground fault. This is why it is important to have appliances repaired by a qualified technician. GFCIs are designed to detect even small ground faults. They can trip and cut off power to the circuit within milliseconds of detecting a ground fault. This rapid response time is critical for preventing serious injury or death. Without GFCI protection, a person could receive a severe electrical shock if they came into contact with a live wire. The severity of the shock would depend on the amount of current flowing through their body. Even a small amount of current can be dangerous, especially if it flows through the heart. Electrical shock can cause a variety of injuries, including burns, muscle contractions, and cardiac arrest. In some cases, electrical shock can be fatal. GFCIs are an essential safety device that can help to prevent these types of injuries. In addition to protecting people from electrical shock, GFCIs can also help to prevent electrical fires. Ground faults can generate heat, which can ignite flammable materials. By quickly cutting off power to the circuit, GFCIs can help to prevent fires from starting. The cost of installing GFCI protection is relatively low compared to the potential cost of an electrical shock injury or a fire. GFCI receptacles typically cost around $15 to $20 each, while GFCI circuit breakers typically cost around $30 to $50 each. The cost of installation will vary depending on the complexity of the job. However, the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you and your family are protected from electrical shock is priceless. If you are not sure whether your kitchen countertop receptacles have GFCI protection, you can check them by pressing the test button on the receptacle. If the receptacle trips, it is GFCI protected. If the receptacle does not trip, it is not GFCI protected and you should have it replaced with a GFCI receptacle or have a GFCI circuit breaker installed. When testing GFCI receptacles, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions. Some GFCI receptacles require you to press the reset button after testing them. If you are not sure how to test a GFCI receptacle, consult with a qualified electrician. In addition to testing the GFCI receptacles, it is also important to visually inspect them for any signs of damage. Look for cracks, chips, or other damage to the receptacle. If you see any damage, replace the receptacle immediately. Damaged receptacles can be a safety hazard. It is also important to keep GFCI receptacles clean and free of debris. Dust, dirt, and other debris can interfere with the operation of the GFCI. Clean the receptacles regularly with a damp cloth. Do not use abrasive cleaners as they can damage the receptacles. If you have any questions about GFCI protection, consult with a qualified electrician. An electrician can help you to determine the best way to protect your kitchen countertop receptacles and can answer any questions that you may have. Remember, electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By taking the necessary precautions, you can help to protect yourself and your family from the risk of electrical shock. The NEC provides a minimum standard for electrical safety. However, you may choose to exceed the NEC requirements to provide an even greater level of protection. For example, you could install GFCI protection on all of the circuits in your home, not just the kitchen countertop receptacles. You could also install arc fault circuit interrupters, or RFCIs, which provide protection against arc faults. Arc faults are a type of electrical fault that can cause fires. By installing both GFCIs and RFCIs, you can provide a comprehensive level of protection against electrical hazards. When choosing an electrician, it is important to select a qualified and experienced electrician. Check the electrician's credentials and make sure that they are licensed and insured. Ask for references and check them carefully. Get a written estimate before the electrician begins any work. Make sure that the estimate includes all of the costs associated with the job, including labor and materials. Do not be afraid to ask questions. A good electrician will be happy to answer your questions and explain the work that they are doing. By following these tips, you can ensure that you hire a qualified electrician who will do a good job. Electrical work should always be performed by a qualified electrician. Do not attempt to do electrical work yourself unless you are properly trained and experienced. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to take all of the necessary precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you. Your safety is worth it. Understanding the NEC requirements for GFCI protection in kitchens is an important step in ensuring electrical safety. By following the code requirements and practicing other electrical safety measures, you can help to protect yourself and your family from the risk of electrical shock. Remember, electrical safety is everyone's responsibility.